Okay, so John, we're just looking here at a sticker on the side of this bike, which appears to have an orange banana on there. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what that means.
Yes, it's just a little bit of a running joke. I was talking to Eddie about if we're going to do this project when we present it, what do we call it? And I personally find it really naff when you get people who run a company who, for example, install cameras and they call themselves ProCam. I mean, how unimaginable. As I said, what you really want is a name that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing, but also possibly makes people think that's a little bit odd because hence I said orange banana. By drawing it like that, not only have you got a colour and a fruit mixed up, people are going to stop and think, what is that? And you've got them hooked. So while it was meant as a little bit of a joke, we've ended up having this thing about the fastest banana. So the 100-mile-an-hour banana is part of the entourage at the moment.
Awesome. So this is the world premiere then of the fastest banana in the world.
Yeah, and
Look
orange at that.
And orange at that. Superb. Thanks, John.
Project that's been in the making for most of my life, I suppose. Always been interested in bicycles, and technology hasn't really been available up until maybe the last sort of 5-6 years with the development of new high-powered electric motors. And in the last few years I've got involved with the electric transport shop, and one of the proprietors, Eddie, and I got talking, and they'd been to a competition, and we're talking about the unlimited section, what was the fastest bike, and I just we could say we're probably having pub conversation. I said, let's wipe the floor with the competition, let's just go for 100 mile an hour, and hence I'm sitting here now developing this with a Lynch motor and getting on for something like 35 kilowatts of power.
35 kilowatts of power. That is extraordinary. John, what would that work out in sort of horsepower for people that aren't too familiar with the kilowatt?
Okay, 700 watts is about a horsepower, so 35 kilowatts you're getting on for about 45 horsepower. But to put that in perspective, I have a number of motorbikes. One of my motorbikes is a Triumph 500. Albeit an old design bike, it's still a reasonably well performing bike, twin cylinder 500. If you absolutely rev that thing to the limit at 6,000 RPM, it produces 38 horsepower.
Wow.
And it will do, the reason it's called a T100 is because it will do 100 miles an hour. But you're doing 6,000 RPM and the thing's shaking itself to bits, and half the energy is going from heat, noise and vibration. It all gets quite complicated, but interesting. Would you like me to illustrate the motor?
That would be absolutely fantastic.
At the moment, the relay, we're waiting for a voltage regulator. So, in true engineering design, we will switch it with a bypass using a good old spanner. You'll see a nice spark, but for the purposes of what we're going to illustrate, it will show you the motor running. So,
high-tech engineering at its best. Absolutely love it.
We have here ignition switch. At this point, the circuitry is live and it's called pre-arming. So it actually provides voltage into the control box over here, brings all the capacitors up to charge. We then have an arming switch up here, which might look a little bit over the top, but it really is to prevent someone accidentally just twisting the throttle and taking off. So at the moment, I will bypass this with the good old spanner. If you watch this, we'll have a nice spark. And then if I give the throttle a little bit of a blip, we should get some motor movement. And it's progressive, so I can just, once that motor's died down, if I want to just a little bit of, there we go.
That's actually surprisingly progressive, isn't it? That's very, very good. John, many thanks for joining us. It's been absolutely superb. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Thank you very much indeed.